Hey everyone, excited to be back for this week's edition of Frequently Asked Questions for Commercial Real Estate. In today's video, what I want to do is talk about a metric that's commonly used when presenting investment opportunities, and that is what exactly is an equity multiple. So we're going to explain the definition of an equity multiple and explain how it's presented or projected so that if you yourself are looking to raise money, maybe this is a metric you can include in your OM or other documentation to showcase potential return on investment to investors. Now, before I dive into this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you can like and subscribe to this channel. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm and ensures more and more people can hear this message and learn about the many facets of commercial real estate. So now you've done that, go ahead and like and subscribe below. Let's go ahead and dive into this episode. All right, so the question is, what exactly is an equity multiple? Well, an equity multiple is a financial metric that measures the total return on investment relative to the initial investment. So let's say that you have $100,000 you're looking to invest. The multiple itself is what number times that will give you what your total return is over time. And typically, what you'll do is you'll invest $100,000 in some form of investment, and you'll receive cash distributions over the course of you holding that investment. And then once that property is either sold or refinanced or whatever else, you'll receive your initial investment back plus a little bit more cash in the form of distribution. What you're measuring is over the course of you holding that investment plus the return of your initial capital, what multiplication should you apply to your initial investment that will give you ultimately what you received over that period of time, and that becomes your equity multiple. So let's go ahead and showcase that. I know it's kind of a little bit confusing, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about here. So, all right. So in this particular scenario, we are looking at scenario A and scenario B. And the reason why I created two scenarios so you could see that the equity multiple is unchanged in either scenario. But what this particular investment applies, let's look at scenario A. You have $100,000 you're looking to invest in a, let's call it multifamily syndication. The promised returns over that period of time are $10,000 in year one, $10,000 in year two, $10,000 in year three, $10,000 in year four. And in year five, they end up selling the investment and you receive your initial $100,000 back plus $10,000 in the form of distributions as well. So, in order to calculate this equity multiple, what you would do is you would sum up all these values and subtract it by the initial investment and then divide it by the initial investment. So this means that over the course of you holding that investment, you will essentially receive $150,000 over the course of you holding that investment. So your investment will have increased by 50% in this scenario. So that's what's considered an equity multiple for scenario A. Now, in scenario B, as you can see, the cash flows in the first 4 years are less than what you would achieve in the scenario A, but you receive $25,000 in year five versus the $10,000 at the end, plus the return of your initial capital. Therefore, the numbers are actually going to be exactly the same when it comes to your equity multiple because you were receiving essentially 50% more over the course of that 5 years of what you initially invested. So in these cases, the equity multiple would be the same. Now, a metric that we're going to follow in probably our next video is we're going to go through internal rate of return, and the internal rate of return of these two values are actually going to be different, and we'll explain how that is the case. But essentially, an equity multiple just gives you an idea of, okay, well, if I were to put $100,000 in today, what could I expect to get back over that period of time? So, if your equity multiple is two, if you put in $100,000 over the 5 year period, you're expecting to get in total about $200,000 back, right? So you invested 100,000, now you get $200,000 back. So it's just a quick kind of back of the napkin type of math to determine, okay, well, what my expectations are as far as my return on the cash that I've invested in a particular deal. Now, you may be thinking, is an equity multiple of 1.5 good, or maybe it should be 2.5? Well, unfortunately, the answer is it depends. So, in situations where it's a safe investment and there's not a whole lot of risk, maybe the 1.5 to 2 is a fair equity multiple over a five year period. That's not necessarily an unrealistic type of expectation, in particular if it's a light update of a property, or you're just buying a very stable property like a single tenant net lease property, and you're sitting and holding it for a 5 year period, and the lease is for 20 years, and it's a credit tenant. Maybe a 1.5 to 2 is fair. Now, if you're talking about doing a major overhaul of a property to achieve a much more sizable return, maybe a 2 times equity multiple is more realistic or more what you should be expecting. Or at least be demanding from potential investors, because again, you're taking a much higher risk. And as we know with investments, higher risk means higher return, but with risk comes potential downfall, right? So there could be a situation where, the asset becomes illiquid and you lose your initial investment. So these types of things are things you got to consider. And this is just one metric that you should analyze as you're looking to invest in commercial real estate. So hopefully you gain some value from this video. I try to keep it somewhat simplistic as far as what an equity multiple is. It's not the only financial metric you should look at, but it's definitely one to consider. In the next video, we'll go ahead and explain what an internal rate of return is, which is what a lot of people utilize as far as determining comparing two investments amongst each other. And I think that's going to provide you with some great insight as well. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. We obviously greatly appreciate your all support. Please like and subscribe. It does make a big impact in our ability to reach out our audience. Along with that, if you guys are looking for commercial property in the Louisville, Kentucky area, so that includes Louisville, Southern Indiana, and we can stretch into Ohio. We've done some deals over there as well. Feel free to give me a call. My number is 502-536-7315, or you can reach me via email at raphael@crisantigroup.com. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.